Hey guys, Justin here, welcoming you back to otakusandgeeks.com reviews. We are here once again covering winter season anime for 2018, and we are back once again reviewing Junji Ito's collection. This is episode 4, and this time the collection is number 34, Shiver, and the collection House of Puppets. So they actually have a brief synopsis of the entire episode. So here's a brief synopsis of the entire episode. In Shiver, a young boy notices the puzzling disease affecting his neighbor and recognizes its symptoms from his own past. And in House of Puppets, a puppeteer family finds themselves questioning who's exactly pulling the strings in their lives. And I kind of was disappointed a little bit with this one. Mainly because I was disappointed in Shiver, which is actually ironic because Shiver was the one I was hoping they would really nail it down, and because it was such a creepy story reading it in the manga, which is, once again, you guys can read some of the stuff that's in the episode with the recent release by Viz Media, the Shiver Junji Ito collection that just recently came out. It's just a collection of all his short stories, which the show is really based off, which they take a lot of inspiration from. And I think the problem I had with Shiver wasn't the story, it was the animation, or at least how the disease looked. Because if you look at the comparison, if you guys look at the manga, and look how disturbing it actually is. Maybe because it wasn't colorized, it's actually in black and white, so it had a little bit more of a creepy factor to it. And you can look at it from the disease from this shot here, and you can also see that it doesn't look as great or translate well in color, because it looks more, instead of it being holes, it looks like black spots, and they kind of just took the scare factor down for me. I know that kind of sounds crazy, but if you compare the look of how it looks in black and white with the manga compared to it being colorized, it kind of took away the scare factor for me a little bit. The story essentially is still good. You have this kid who basically sees his neighbor with the same disease that his grandfather had, and he was just trying to uncover what happens to people here and what happens with the disease, and you see the effects of the disease, and as he uncovers his grandfather's past, more things happen. And for the most part, Shiver is a creepy story. I just feel like the animation, when it came to presenting the disease with the color, using colorization, it kind of looks more like black spots, so it kind of took the wind out of the sails of the creep factor for me. But overall, it's still a really good story. But I will definitely suggest you read it compared to watching the episode on this one. Let's go to the House of Puppets. Now, this one I actually did really enjoy because I didn't read the story, so I was really intrigued about it. It just reminded me of Puppet Master a little bit when it came to live puppets. And for those who are not in the USA, Puppet Master is a USA United States horror movie. Pretty cool. Actually, it's pretty cool. It's pretty chill. But House of Puppets, you follow this traveling family who goes around there doing puppet shows. And the kids, this had a little good characterization because you have the older brother who, frankly, the kids are getting tired of traveling around because they can't make friends. But the father, that's his job, and that's how he puts food on the table. He does these puppet shows, and the family's included with it. So the kids are starting to get upset and getting a little disgruntled that, you know, we don't really have a life. I just wish that we can just sit down and just be a family and just be able to make friends and stuff. So unfortunately, the father does get sick, and he does fortunately pass away. And then time just skips and time jumps. And then you see the older brother has a house. The younger two siblings are feeding for themselves. You know, he's working the job and trying to support the younger sister. And then he finds the older brother. The older brother finds them and invites them to come, you know, see the house and everything else. And then things just get a little bit disturbing because the whole house, they're hanging on strings, and that I just found a little bit disturbing because could you imagine going to someone's house and next thing you know they're being controlled on this string, but they appear normal to you? That kind of freaks you out a little bit. But I won't go into much detail with it because I don't want to spoil it. But the ending payoff was really good for the nice build-up and tone that they were setting for. It does have a little bit of intensity in there. Not too much tension, but it does have a little bit of creep factor intensity. But overall, you guys, if I had to give this episode a rating, as usual, we have a watch it, add it to the queue, or watch it later, or skip it. I'm going to say this episode, you can watch it later. It's not something that you can just, it's not a must-see. It's not something like, oh man, I gotta watch this episode. You can watch it later, add it to the queue. You know, whenever you feel like watching episode 4, you can watch episode 4. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't bad either. It was just there. And hopefully we pick up from what we've seen from the previous episode 3, which had a lot of characterization. It had more time to develop. And like I said before, if the show would just focus on one short story a time, and I know the short stories in the manga is really short too. So, but if they focus on his short stories that can fill up entire episodes and just choose like 13 of his long short stories, then I think the show will be better off to give the audience time to really digest the characterization instead of going from point A to point B and then boom, finale. So, overall, you guys, episode 4, watch it later. This is Justin from puppeteer.com saying later days, so I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.